In the small village of Briarstead, nestled under the towering ashen peaks, Kael, a young blacksmith, forged weapons for the town's warriors. His hands were strong from years at the forge, but his heart longed for something more. He dreamed of faraway lands, dragons, and battles, of being a hero like the ones in the ancient tales. One night, as he stood outside his modest home, a streak of fire crossed the sky, falling beyond the mountains where the ancient ruins of Durnhold lay. He was drawn to it, knowing deep in his bones that this was no ordinary omen. Kael set off the next morning, venturing into the peaks. He climbed through treacherous terrain, determined to find the source of the fire. When he reached the site, he found an obsidian shard glowing with a golden light. As he touched it, a surge of energy coursed through him, and visions flashed before his eyes: a golden dragon, a warrior princess, and a looming darkness. Before he could process what had just happened, a direwolf attacked, its ferocious growls echoing through the forest. Kael fought back with the dagger he carried, and to his surprise, his movements were swifter, more precise, as though the shard had given him new strength. He defeated the beast and stood over its body, stunned by his newfound abilities. That was impressive for a commoner. A voice called from the shadows. Kael spun around to see a woman in armor, Princess Seraphine of Solara, her green eyes piercing and her posture commanding. "Who are you?" Kael asked, still gripping his dagger. "I'm here because of the shard," Seraphine explained. "It's part of the dragon's heart, an ancient artifact, and you're the one chosen to wield its power." Seraphine revealed that the prophecy of Fireborn spoke of a hero who would rise from the ashes, bearing the shard and defeating an ancient darkness. The shard Kael held was only a piece of the dragon's heart, and only with its full power could they stop the shadow threatening their world. Kael's heart raced. He was no longer just a blacksmith. He had been chosen for something greater, though the weight of the prophecy hung heavy on him. "I didn't ask for this," Kael said, still processing everything. "None of us do," Seraphine replied. "But the darkness is rising. We must find the dragon's heart before it's too late." Together, they set off toward the ruins of Durnhold, but as they journeyed, Kael felt the pull of something deeper. There was a connection between him and Seraphine, something that went beyond their quest. As they made their way through dense forests and across rocky terrain, they encountered signs of the darkness, strange creatures, ominous whispers in the wind. The closer they got to Durnhold, the stronger the feeling of impending danger became. The ruins of Durnhold loomed before them, an ancient stronghold of forgotten kings. As they entered, the air grew heavy, and the silence was suffocating. It was in the heart of these ruins that the dragon's heart was hidden, its power guarded by ancient magic and creatures that had been bound to protect it. Kael could feel the energy of the shard pulsing, as though guiding him forward. They entered a large chamber, the walls etched with strange symbols, and there it was, the dragon's heart, a glowing stone in the center of an altar, surrounded by a barrier of magical energy. Before they could approach, a massive dragon, its scales shimmering with gold and black, emerged from the shadows. It was the guardian of the artifact, and its eyes glowed with an ancient fire. "You have come for the heart," the dragon rumbled, its voice like thunder. "But are you worthy of its power?" Kael stepped forward, holding the obsidian shard high. The dragon's eyes locked onto the shard, and for a moment it seemed to recognize its power. "I have no choice but to try," Kael said, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. The dragon roared and lunged, but Kael, now infused with the power of the shard, was faster than he had ever been. He dodged the dragon's claws and with a swift motion thrust the shard into the altar, breaking the magical barrier. The dragon paused, its eyes widening as the heart's power surged through the room. The barrier collapsed, and the dragon bowed its head. "You have proven yourself worthy, Kael. The heart is yours," the dragon said, its voice now softer. With the dragon's heart in his hands, Kael felt an overwhelming surge of power. The world around him seemed to shift, and he realized that this was just the beginning. He wasn't just a blacksmith anymore. He was the hero the prophecy had spoken of. Kael and Seraphine returned to the kingdom of Solara, but their victory was short-lived. The darkness they had been seeking to defeat had already begun to spread. The land was in chaos, and the once peaceful kingdom was now under siege by dark forces, led by a mysterious enemy who sought to claim the dragon's heart for themselves. The final battle was inevitable. Kael, now armed with the full power of the dragon's heart, and Seraphine, the skilled warrior princess, rallied the people of Solara to defend their land. As the forces of darkness descended upon the kingdom, Kael and Seraphine fought side by side. The power of the dragon's heart burned brightly within Kael, and with each swing of his blade, he cut through the shadows that sought to overrun them. In the midst of the battle, Kael found himself face to face with the dark forces' leader, a sorcerer who had long been corrupted by the very power he sought to control. "You cannot defeat me," the sorcerer sneered. "The darkness is eternal." But Kael, with the strength of the dragon's heart and the love and trust he had found in Seraphine, knew otherwise. With a final, powerful strike, he defeated the sorcerer, and the darkness was vanquished. The battle was won, but the price had been steep. Many lives had been lost, and the scars of war would take time to heal. But as Kael stood beside Seraphine, watching the sun rise over the kingdom of Solara, he knew that their journey had been worth it. The prophecy had come true. Kael, the commoner who had once dreamed of adventure, had become a hero. And in doing so, he had found not just his destiny, but the love of a warrior princess who had fought alongside him every step of the way. Though the world would change, one thing remained: the legacy of the fire-born hero, a tale that would be passed down through the ages.